Hello and welcome back, everybody, for our Game 1 breakdown, as Magical has a nice little outfit change here. No longer rocking the turtleneck in his garage with like 95-degree heat. Congratulations.
Look, I tried. I was trying to hold together. I was like, I can do this. I can make it through the day. And then I'm like, okay, I'm feeling delirious in the last game. I need to calm down and cool off a bit. So I got this on instead. And it feels much better already.
Honestly, I'm just impressed that you made it 3 games in a turtleneck and blazer with no AC. So congratulations on that. But of course, we're not just here to talk about Magical and his wardrobe decisions and sanity in the bigger picture. I don't think we want to dive into that one. We're instead going to talk about Game 1 and how 100 Thieves Next got the win. Congratulations, Beatdown and Magical. And I honestly, myself too, I did say 4 more wins for Amateur. We all move up a little bit there, as now that is a total of 9 wins
for Amateur again.
Yeah, true. Yeah, let's call him Mazel. That means that he's knocked out even in the updated prediction. But still, I think it opens up the conversation even more. How big is the gap between Amateur and Academy? Already here, a big win for 100 Thieves Next, and it shows that this could be the second Academy team to get knocked out of the tournament. Beatdown, you're asking how many have we had so far? Golden Guardians were the first to AoE, and now this could be the second.
It was a very convincing Game 1. I think with a few bright spots from Immortals Progressive, the fact is 100 Next were the better team in Game 1. And this is kind of, again, in line with what we were expecting. A lot of people going into this series had 100 Next winning. I'm one of those people, and this isn't very surprising. The thing I also want to answer, you brought up the gap between Academy and Amateur. And I think we have to be honest when we say that Amateur as a whole is very top-heavy. So when you think about the top few teams that got there, there's a big difference. And even among the top few teams, 100 Next feel like they are in a category of their own with, I mean, the level of talent they have, how good 100 Thieves as an org has just been over the years in the Amateur League of Legends at finding great talent, developing them so well, and then just shipping them right up to the next level here. And this is just par for the course for 100 Thieves.
And the way that they were able to do it as well, it felt like Darkwings had an incredible performance as he was in Academy last split. Now on 100 Thieves Next, I think Sniper definitely stepped up, especially in that last play. I love how you said it, Beatdown. The bait, and they took it hook, line, and sinker. He played that so well just to survive. At first, I was like, oh no, Sniper's caught. Like, this could be the game. Immortals Progressive could just win off of this, but no, he's got the Lulu ult. He's got everything that the team needs to keep him alive. It was really cool to see how they played out that position, and specifically at an individual level, how Sniper played that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. It's just a lot of the small things where, like, this is a player who we've been hyped about since he was, I believe, 13 years old and first hit challenger. Like, everyone has been trying to get their hands on this kid, and it's not just because of the mechanics that he very clearly has. It's also how smart he is, just being able to play that 1v5 well enough to survive. And I mean, haters will say Fiora's broken, and they would be kind of right, but also he played it very well.
I would say I would give more credit to him than Fiora being broken.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, he had some great moves. He was dodging a lot of skill shots. That's not just the champion. That's the person controlling them.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, healing from the Grand Challenge, he reposted like crucial abilities, things like that. He definitely played it well. Yeah. I'm just saying, I also like to throw in there, Fiora's kind of good. Kind of blindable. I think Fantasty said that, remember? You guys remember that?
Fantasty did, yeah. I mentioned that earlier in the day.
Did, see? I'm glad you remember. Thank you, Magical.
And fun fact also, when I was looking up stats for the next segment that we're actually going to run here, I was looking at top laners in particular. Sniper and Tenacity, very close at some of the key metrics for top laners. Things like CSD at 15, goal difference at 15, XP at 15. They're top 2 for pretty much all those categories. It's really cool to see 100 Thieves just have like a top lane monopoly right now for developing players.
Okay, Kangas, let's be real. Is it not just a monopoly on all roles?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in Proving Grounds. Because, I mean, if they are both in the finals, maybe. But I don't think that's possible right now, as they're both in the lower bracket.
No, yeah,
but let's get into the next segment here, because we're waiting for Pick and Ban to start for game number 2. While we are waiting for that, we're going to play a little game. We played this for the last series. We'll do it again here, called Whose Story? So take on whose stats have played that I used like to do in the past. This one, we're going to track a player's past performances, give a little bit of history on them, and I want the two of you to think out loud and explain your thought process, and then guess whose story this is. Let's take a look at the first one.
Can I guess now? I'm going to guess Lens.
Sure. Magical, throw one in.
Lens.
You're thinking Lens. All right, well, let's run the first one, and let's see if it is, in fact, Lens.
Oh, no.
It is not Lens.
Read this one since Magical already gave his guess.
Abort. Nope. Go back.
Did you say you want me to? Did you say you want me to read the fun fact?
Yes.
Okay. Since their debut in Academy, this player has been on 6 different orgs over 4.5 years. The solo queue I do is Wecken Oof.
It's,
that was just a funny fact that I noticed. Yeah.
Oh,
shout out to Peckinwolf. Yeah.
Okay. So. Let's see. First Academy year was in 2018. Is Months on SN Supernova?
Probably.
That's hilarious. One Scouting Grounds appearance, and it is a player in this lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Are amateur teams counting as orgs?
Yes. Amateur teams would count as an org.
Okay. Let's see. 4.5 years. As a solo queue. Okay, the solo queue ID is not helping me. Who are on these teams right now? Come on, brain.
Think about who's been playing in either Academy or Amateur.
I think I know who it is.
Who would have debuted in Academy 4.5 years ago?
Can I?
No, you lost your chance, Magical. Silence.
You already lost your chance, Magical.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to give a hint, I'll let you give a hint to Beatdown.
Alex,
look at bot lane.
Okay.
It's
pretty good hint.
6 different orgs. Bot lane for both of these teams are one is Lens and Sword, the other is come on brain.
Arrow and Joey.
No,
Joey. It's Joey.
Yeah, let's take it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was able to figure it out. That's I knew.
Wait,
wait a minute. It's Joey, obviously.
I realized because we were talking about it earlier. How many teams he's been? Okay, Joey is constant. Joey is inevitable. Joey is the answer.
So Joey was actually on CLG before he joined an Academy team. So this was a little bit of I thought maybe this would trip some people up, especially Magical if he was reading this fact. But then Magical in classic fashion just punted it to begin with. He was on Team Liquid Academy at the beginning of Academy as an ecosystem when it was first introduced. The big story around Joey, he subbed in for Ole at MSI when Team Liquid was playing through it. So he has international experience, technically. It was insane following that story back in the day, back in 2018 summer. Then he went back to Supernova after leaving Team Liquid, the org, but that was only for a month, though. That was a very short stint there. And that was actually technically in the off-season, too, kind of. And then he was picked up by Clutch Academy before they turned into Dignitas Academy. Then he was orgless for a bit, Wildcard Gaming, until he's been back on Immortals Academy for now a full 2 years. Joey's been through the ringer. He has played at the top level, he's played at the amateur level, and he's bounced around in between. And he's a player that's a very interesting story. He's kind of an enigma at the Academy level, because there's a lot of players, especially from the community standpoint, where they look at them. I'm thinking mostly 2019 to 2020. Magically, you probably remember this. There was a lot of, criticism of, Academy's a retirement home. There's players that don't have a ceiling. They don't have, a lot of development, or at least we weren't seeing a lot of that. I don't think about that with Joey. I see Joey as a player who has improved over time. It's just, honestly kind of impressive to see how committed he's been to staying in the scene throughout that long of a tenure.
But he's also not that old of a player. He's been around for a long time, and you'd think, oh man, this guy has got to be old. He's only 23. He's still really young in the scene. So he's got a lot of history to his name in his life, only being 23 years old. I'm just impressed by that. I'm like, yeah, this guy still has plenty of room to grow and to get better. I mean, that's why it's always fun to kind of have the Dokla narrative, because we look at how Dokla was, where he was a player who had chances in the LCS, struggled with them, played in Academy, struggled there, went back to amateur, worked his way all the way back up, and now look at him in CLG, how well he's doing.
And when you talk to Joey, he almost has a similar mentality to players like Dokla, where he's like, look, I believe that we can win. I believe that we're good enough to go for that push, which is making it even more surprising because I did have Immortals winning this series that they're now down. But let's take a look at the next story here and see if you can guess that one as well. I'll give you half a point beatdown since you had to get a hint.
I'm glad
walk me through this one, Magical.
I'm glad I didn't guess
walk me through this.
I was gonna just go for a blind lens guess again and double down.
Again?
But I was going to, but now you've shown me the clue, so I can't. It's too late. You can't take it back.
I can't.
No, you can't. Let's see.
He's stalling.
He is stalling, yeah.
I am stalling. So it's a rare example of a player drafted in SG who actually played. Oh, it's Fnatic.
Oh, well, you keep talking though, because maybe it's somebody else.
No, he got drafted by FlyQuest and then went on to play for FlyQuest Academy.
Well, beatdown. Come on, give me some. It could be another player, right?
I think the way you're sweating and stumbling right now tells me I also want to guess Fnatic. So thank you, Kangas.
all right, pull it up, production. It is in fact Fnatic. Good guess.
Literally,
Good guess.
all it took me was reading it. And be like, oh, hey, wait, I know who this is.
Magical
That
knows
is a
this
cool
history
fact,
too
though.
well. It is, because most of the time with scouting grounds, it was an opportunity for scouts to check out players. There was a draft at the end, but part of the reason I think why scouting grounds, at least myself as a fan, as a viewer, I wasn't always as interested, is because, like, you never saw players stick with the teams that drafted them.
Yeah.
But Fnatic was an example. FlyQuest picked him up. He played in Academy in that next split. He had also played for Optic Academy. He's played for TSM Academy. Fnatic has Academy experience, and he is a player. Again, the story of a lot of the teams today, a lot of the players today, trying to get back to that level. You know, if they're an Academy player, now they're playing an amateur. If they're an LCS player, now they're playing an Academy, getting back to that level that they had been in the past. I think Fnatic is somebody who has shown that level of play, and even that last performance in game number 1 gives me a lot of hope. But before we get into that, I'm hearing the picking band is ready. So that's enough from us. I'm going to pass it back over to Magical and Beatdown for game number 2.
And we'll see if this ends up being the last game or if Immortals Progressive, wow, I almost stumbled on my words, can actually bounce back in this game while they remain on the same sides. Choosing blue side, while 100 next, they're on the red side, and we look at the bans, I'm not seeing anything too different.
Not yet. So we'll see. I mean, seeing the Lissandra means maybe we're going to see another first pick or Pretty on the LeBlanc. But for the moment here, what I'm more interested in is 100 Thieves next. It was an interesting play that they made in that last draft, immediately taking the Sivir, leaving up Zeri and Yuumi so that Immortals can grab it and they lock in the Vi. Surely, the save trick will not work again. So now, unless Chad suddenly plays Vi, I'm not sure that one is going to come through, especially because I just don't think that'll work again.
No, it seems like we're about to get a salty run back as well with the LeBlanc first pick.
I mean, that's not surprising, yeah.
No, I'm expecting the same Vi Sivir be picked up here. There's the Sivir. Oh, no, sorry, it's Fiora. Sorry, it's Fiora.
That's true.
Vi was R3.
Yeah, and they're just happy to keep this one going.
There we
Magical.
go. There we go.
Okay.
That's the change. That's the change.
Ooh,
that is the change.
Okay, you know what? Fair. My bad, Arrow. I forgot you're a big Draven player. You played even last year. I remember in Amateur when Wildcard Red, it was one game in the Risen Champs finals. I remember because I was casting it where they had a disconnect and Arrow had to play Draven mid and they almost won that game. It was crazy, and this is the perfect meta for him to bring it out again. You're playing into the scaling Sivir. It's good. I like it.
And with the response, Fnatic not going on to the Vi this time around, instead of getting the trusty Trundle to face off against Viego. It does make a lot of sense that this is the draft that we've seen now adapt from 100 next, and I'm curious to see what they opt to ban, because last time, if we look at it, Rengar and Trundle were what they banned away, trying to focus on Chad, but this time with Viego already picked up, it looks like they're going to focus on Joey and how he can set up Arrow.
See, before it was because you're worried about Vi. I mean, even though she's risen up in play, there are a lot of champs that can really doom her. So that's why this time around, you have the Trundle, which we were talking about in last champ select, good into the Viego. And it's also doubly nice because even though the Draven is really strong right now, you're not like an Ezreal, you're not like a Zeri. You can't actually go around the pillar. You are immobile in a sense, even with the speed boost that Blood Rush gives you. So it gives Fnatic that all their opportunity to use that pillar of ice to be able to isolate Arrow if he missteps.
As we see, double up on the support bands aimed at Joey. The Silas take it away from Darkwings, but we also know that Darkwings does have that deep champion pool. I was talking about the Cassiopeia just a bit of before. Something that we have seen, the famous, infamous play at the base where he was able to 1v4 defend the game and somehow turn it around to win. With that Braum banned and LeBlanc already open, I'm curious to see what 100 Next decide to draft here.
Yeah, I mean, Immortals banning the Braum, it could be them thinking towards an Ornn pick for Vital in the top side. Would give you that extra bit of, I think, scaling into the later parts of the game. The ornaments, the ability to team fight is all really nice and good there. And the Nautilus pick is actually an interesting one there. So you do have that bit of aggression, gank setup, and more importantly, you have Sword able to move this, all the CC to other lanes. You play for top, like we've seen him do. You can move to the mid lane and also help Darkwings in the mid matchup. We saw that happen in the last game. That's just as true now.
So yeah, I was wondering whether Joey was going to go for Bard, which would be really difficult into a Sivir Nautilus, or if he was going to change it up, and he is changing it. Leona did receive some buffs. You know, it was minor, but there are some buffs that she did receive on this recent patch.
Honestly, even before that, I thought Leona was really good. So I do like that we're seeing.
And she got buffed.
Yeah, it's just even better. So the fact is, you get that one locked in. You're really tanky in lane. Like, it's honestly really annoying. Her clips how much stats it gives you in damage reduction, and you have insane engage coming through here. You have a dive buddy with Vital, with Chad on their dive champions as well. Even the LeBlanc here for Pretty. You have a lot of ways for Immortals to be able to just sprint down 100 Thieves next, especially Lens. We saw how important he was last game. Well, Magical, Sivir only has one spell shield, so Lens is going to have to play really well.
Yeah, and the final pick for 100 Next is going to be Corki for Darkwings. Yeah,
You don't like it?
Yeah.
You don't like it? I think it's fine. I mean,
you worked for the composition. It's just more.
What did you want? Did you want Cass? Is that the problem?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you know what? That's kind of fair. Like, Cass is fun because she's like super 1v9 and everything, but it's the Corki, and it works with the comp, as you said, because one, I mean, you scale really well, your range is insane, and it makes it, you have this comp that, I mean, is really dangerous to face check there. You have to worry about those rockets coming through, you have to worry about getting zoned out by the Pillar of Ice, the Dredge line. You have a lot of ways, basically, for 100 Thieves to damage Immortals before they can even move in. And
also the fact that they have really good scaling on their side with that Sivir, with the Corki, with Fiora, all of them going to do very well if they can, even if they don't necessarily get ahead early, just scale up, not really fall behind. And then for Immortals, well, I would argue they have some. They look like much more of a team that wants those first initial team fights. They want the first time you group up 5v5. That's what they're looking, at least to me, like they want.
No, I agree with you, and that's the beauty of a champion like the LeBlanc. You're really strong in that early to mid game, and you want to be able to leverage that so you can take out the AD carry, dive, and take them out of the picture here. That's the name of the game here for Immortals Progressive, who are down in the series.
Down in the series and one away from getting eliminated from Proving Grounds, and the earliest that Immortals would have faced ever in the Proving Grounds history at the hands of an amateur team. 100 Thieves next. All they need is this final game. They have the cushion of one more game as well if need be, but why rely on that when you have all the pressure and all the power now?
Now, as we said, you are playing the scaling game as 100 Thieves next compared to things like Draven, LeBlanc on the side of Immortals Progressive. And that's kind of why I want to stress the importance of this Trundle pick for Fnatic. Fnatic being that player, as long as we've seen him in amateur, really intelligent with his pathing. Not only being able to make plays to facilitate his laners, but also be able to answer plays. We saw a bit of it in the last game, and being able to read Chad this game is going to be really important. Because, again, when you're playing a comp that scales into one that has a lot of early aggression, that wants to fight early mid-game, you just need to minimize your losses. And Fnatic being able to read Chad, keep the game and the map nice and slow for 100 next is exactly how it happens.
Does look like it will actually be Chad to read the initial play from Fnatic with that ward that was placed down by, I believe, Joey earlier on before he swapped out for Red Trinket. Gives a little bit of information to Immortals that they can play around. Like you talked about, it's Fnatic who's usually the one. I mean, just in the last game, he was the one to control the jungle and be in the right place, right time at every moment. I have to see if Immortals can make sure that doesn't really happen as they get a little bit of power in this bot lane with the fact that it is Draven Leona.
That's right, the fact that Leona, honestly, besides her R not being point and click, she's just a stronger Nautilus, much more tankier, and Fnatic, I love this.
Getting the flash early, the pull in.
Beautiful.
No escape for Arrow, first blood for Fnatic.
And that's what I'm talking about. Arrow is immobile, can't do anything about the pillar, so the immediate flash means that Sword can full send it. Now, Draven already set behind him this early game, not exactly what you want to happen, and that's a risky play when you go for a literal level 2 one camp gank, but Fnatic, he made it work, and 100 Thieves are starting off game 2 on the right foot.
Getting that gold for Fnatic as well, denying some of the adoration stacks early on for Arrow. Like you said, it was just a great pillar and a great answer from Sword.
It's perfect. Like, this is exactly, you're not really expecting it, especially with all the pressure Arrow and Joey were able to have in that first minute of play. So Fnatic takes advantage of that and just continues to farm it away. Already, Immortals in an elimination match, who are down 0-1, are starting to fall a little behind.
There's only a little bit, and it's an early play too. I talked about it before. When you get those early kills, it's not really the most. You can even see that translated into the gold. There's not really that much of a lead for either teams because we're only 3.5 minutes into the game. We're not very far through it, and with CS leads in one or the other solo lane for each team, you have top lane for Sniper, and you have mid lane for Pretty.
All right, and so far, I mean, this is about what we've expected here. Sniper playing that Fiora, really strong in lane, and just a pick he really likes to play. And on the other side, Darkwing's looking to scale. It's fine that he's falling behind. And though I agree, the early plays, you know, they don't usually mean everything. It's just a good start for 100 Thieves next. And the fact that Arrow doesn't have flash for a few more minutes in Fnatic, he can just do it again.
Looking for that mid lane play, possibly. Looking to see if they can catch Pretty out, but it is a LeBlanc who's going to be very slippery. Distortion, great tool, and you can see how little Darkwings can do in this matchup. Not until you're level 6 does it actually start to favor the Corki somewhat.
Yeah, a little bit. And for now, at least he'll have more range, more poke to be able to damage Pretty from afar. But for now, Darkwings has had an okay time just clearing waves. Pretty hasn't been able to, he's able to pressure him with health, but he's been able to stay alive. Speaking of pressure, Sniper, keeping up the topside pressure as well. I mean, Immortals, right now, they haven't been able to do much of anything magical, and theirs is the comp where your ability to impact the early game is super important here. I am looking at Chad to be able to be that catalyst and to make something happen.
But the thing is, I think we should temper that a little bit. Only because Chad is someone we tend to see play aggressively, tend to look for these plays. And while bot lane, sure, you died early on, Arrow, not going to be too happy about that. It was early enough, they don't really lose too much, and you have Chad on Viego. Scaling up until level 6 when you can get the full resets and utilize that Heartbreaker to full effect.
Yeah, that is fair. Now speaking of Chad, Sniper could very well be in trouble. Fnatic on the other side of the map here. But if Chad shows, that does open up a play.
There it is.
Maybe a
Looking
dragon.
for the flash. Missed the Spectral Maw. Gets the flash away, but the flash followed up by Vital. Could not take down Sniper.
Wow, so big for the Spectral Maw to miss. I mean, Sniper had no idea it was there, so that ended up working out super hard in his favor. He gets to just continuously farm back and go for the teleport. And like we said, that information is given out. Fnatic is continuing to farm, but you do have this opportunity with the wave bouncing back bottom, but Lens and Sword, they don't want to do anything about it. And realistically, again, when you're playing a comp that is more for the late game, who cares about the first dragon? The fact that this game is so chill, 100X are loving it.
Yeah, 100X are going to be perfectly fine at the moment, but we are getting to the point where level 6s are starting to tick for Immortals, and this is when I'm expecting to see a lot more action from Immortals Progressive. And if they don't have it happen now, like you talked about, there's just too much scaling on the side of 100 Thieves next that it gets detrimental to even think what could happen past the 25-minute mark.
Yeah, so let's hope Immortals, for their sake, they don't get that far. As now, you mentioned it, level 6, Rift Herald's going to be up in about a minute 30, so pretty soon you got to imagine Chad will start heading back towards that side of the map. We could very well see Arrow and Joey go for the lane swap to set themselves up for it too, because they need this Rift Herald magical It is really important for them to be able to get this early plate gold going and get someone like Arrow snowballing.
Well, looks like they should at least get the dragon itself first off, then rotate around. It might be a bit late. Let's see how fast they can take this down. Scuttle Crab is theirs. It should be a free dragon. You can tell where Fnatic is on the map. He's not even trying to contest anything at the moment, just trying to get some clearing levels.
Right, and we talked about, like, for that Herald fight, level 6 is very important. Him having access to the subjugate is needed if they want to contest this one, and you're okay letting this dragon go down. For IMT, you're right on pace, at least when it comes to neutral objectives, because, as you said, there will still be time to reset, move towards that top side of the map. And with Vital having the Gnar ultimate, that level 6, there is a potential chance for some pretty good team fighting coming through. That's why you're seeing Sniper trade so aggressively. He wants Vital out of lane for when this Herald spawns. He wants him irrelevant in this next fight.
But Vital did one thing very well from the previous gank when Chad came up to the top lane trying to get the kill on the Sniper. Did not TP back into lane, so he can always rejoin the fight if he needs to. But now, Chad fighting against Fnatic inside of his jungle. Fnatic's still alive. That subjugate keeping alive for quite some time, but it's Chad. It looks pretty rough, and with him forced out, that means that Immortals, they don't really have a chance to fight back against a posturing around Rift Herald.
That's right, and even Vital had to back off now, is going to recall, and Fnatic has most of his health, especially with the help of the Honey Fruit. So at this point, Chad actually still wants to be part of this one. I mean, he does have level 6, still held on to his Heartbreaker. So at this point, 100 Thieves, they're just waiting for their support and AD carry to get into the picture here, Magical. But even then, they've just decided to back off. They don't want to risk it.
Nobody wanting to risk it for the biscuit. I can understand for Immortals Progressive how much this game means. Losing this one, like we said before, is their elimination. Knocked out of the Proving Grounds, the earliest that Immortals Progressive Academy would ever have been knocked out of Proving Grounds if that happens. So 100 Thieves next. They understand that they have scaling. They don't have to make these plays. And they also know that Immortals are going to play a little bit more timid just because they know how much pressure is in this one single game.
That's right, but luckily for Immortals Progressive, they will have that opportunity to secure the Rift Herald for themselves here. Now, they have a lot of options for where they want to set that one up. With all this pressure mid, it'll be very easy to get this mid wave in, unlock Pretty so that he can help set up a dive elsewhere. And if they can snowball that into first brick, especially into the hands of someone like Arrow, that is a way IMT can get going in this game. That is how they can start this off on the right foot.
You can see that there's some pings as they invade the jungle. Just a little bit of 100 Thieves next on the top half of the map. Joey and Chad will give them a bit of information, but they don't know exactly where Fnatic is. Fnatic hangs out in that brush just outside of the vision.
All right, pink ward. He shows there's no ward. He's going to let Chad go and steal the Raptors. There isn't anything he can realistically do about it as he goes to farm the rest of his map. And I mean, the thing is, as things slow back down, so far things mostly going how we expect in this game. Immortals probably want to be making more moves from how we expect this comp to work out. But the fact that they've gotten this Rift Herald means they still have the chance to do exactly that. 100 next, again, a comp where you're mostly playing for those later parts of the game, right, Magical? But 100 Thieves next also have Fnatic on this early game jungler, being that player who is so good at slowing down the game, reading the map and facilitating the rest of his lanes, means this could also bode very well for 100 next.
Right, and now this is where I just get concerned for Immortals Progressive. The game slowed down to a pace they are not accustomed to. As an organization, as a team, we've seen they tend to thrive in chaos, dragging teams down to their level, as some might say, and make them fight really chaotically and dirty in some of these fights. For Immortals now, the fact that things have been so slow, they haven't been able to find these angles, I'm starting to worry when, if ever, they're going to be able to find any.
Still have the chance, although seeing Chad recall here does make me curious about where he's thinking about dropping the Herald. Half of the time or the eye has elapsed, but that does actually mean that the next dragon spawning in a minute's time, he'll still have the eye, so he can actually do what a lot of people do with second Herald. Drop it mid and set yourself up for the next dragon, because Dragon Soul is also something to play for here as Immortals Progressive. And as always, when you have a team that doesn't scale very well.
As Hextech Dragon will be our second dragon to take form on the Rift. Immortals have that inside track, getting some good vision placed down in the jungle of Fnatic. seeing if they can rein in some control of Trundle. Well, it's still just been a patient game from both sides. One side feeling very confident in that. 100 Thieves, they don't really need to play for anything too fancy too early. They still have some items to gain for themselves in Lens and Darkwing's pockets. But for Immortals, I just need to see if they can find these plays, or if they can just continue to control all these neutral objectives and never relent a single one.
That would be pretty big, but soon 100 Next will get to a point where they will be comfortable contesting and fighting for objectives, especially because we're now at that point in the game where Darkwings will have the Corki package, which is just in a lot of situations an auto team fight win. So with that in mind, seems like package, actually maybe he did grab it because he is moving very quickly. I actually want to look over to Darkwings. Does he have
I'm pretty sure he's got it. He's zooming into the lane. They've dropped down the Rift Herald. Yep, there it is. Has it in his inventory, but spotted out by Joey. Darkwings gonna go towards the top lane. Wait, using... Oh, no, smart move. Smart move. Using that to have it synced up with the time of Dragon. I was a little confused for a second. I'm like, wait a minute. That's actually a really good play by Darkwings. Keeps it in line. It's pretty. Takes a lot of damage. This is the point of the game we talked about with Corki versus LeBlanc. Where Corki is gonna start to hurt a lot more than the damage that Pretty's gonna do unless Pretty goes in for the full commit.
Right, so now, again, Darkwings, you're waiting for that 2-item mark. Realistically, once that Muramana gets finished, oh, man. It really starts to hurt the damage that Corki can put out. But for the moment, you're still in a decently strong position as Immortals. So they've dropped Herald, bot, and I mean, you're at a point where you're still really happy to have your Draven fight.
Darkwings too far out, flashing towards the blast, but followed up, and Arrow cashes in!
That's big. That's so big.
Draven now has got the gold to back up the damage. Was Pretty took down Fnatic.
And there it is. This is the skirmish that you wanted as Immortals progress. If you were strong enough to beat 100 Next, and they catch out Darkwings. They read that they were potentially looking for a top play. And now, of all people, Arrow, someone we were looking at to carry, manages to cash in on that adoration and get a kill.
It was off Whirling Death as well. From downtown, he was able to cash in on that. If we take a look at this play, Darkwings just thought there was more power on his team, not respecting the potential that Chad and Joey had.
And it was a nice read, realistically, especially with Dragon off of the map, knowing that 100X were going to look to play for this top side, just means that they were there. They were ready for it, and they punished, and this is finally what they were looking for. Now, the snowball is starting to roll for Immortals, because you can see it. ER already built for Arrow, big spikes all around for Immortals.
I would love to take a look at the gold too, because even if the CS is even, look at that. 1,000 gold lead for Arrow off of that one kill.
That's the thing, Adoration, it goes crazy, and it's what makes Draven such a difficult champ to deal with once he starts to roll. And at this point now, Chad, he's allowed to do this. He's very much allowed to do this.
Look at Joey just soloing out. Darkwing's on the other side, fighting him tooth and nail so they can gain control, because with the next Rift Herald spawning soon, they want to be the ones that have the inside track, but Joey's got to be careful. Had to flash away from that Nautilus charge. Well, Nautilus charge, Nautilus hook, and now he's actually in a little bit of danger himself. Diving in, Joey found
Chad is
but
gone.
they lost Chad. Can they get some kills? Whirling Death doing a lot to Fnatic, but here come the TPs. You got to see if you can try to cancel that TP if you're vital, but he couldn't get it. Now Joey on the wrong side of the fight is calling in reinforcements, but Lens is there to meet up with Joey and take down the support with that Rift Herald having spawned. We talked about it. This is a big swing for 100 Next.
This is big, yes. Chad going in and not getting resets, I think, is the biggest part of that team fight. And now, it means that, yeah, you have the track to go for that Herald. And honestly, props to Vital didn't end up getting the cancel. He didn't go Mega Gnar in time, but he didn't match the teleport either. Instead, just went for the burst bonus gold.
No.
Oh,
Vital.
my God.
He's a level down to Sniper 2. That's going to be the blast cone. Gets over the wall. Will barely survive.
Yeah, and it's crucial that he manages to live there. You don't let Sniper get any gold back in that exchange. It means you get to walk away with that bonus Tursk gold. Overall, 100 Thieves Next, still in not the greatest of positions here, and it's Immortals who are coming up on top. That fight in the top side River Magical was so impactful here. And again, we're still in a position where Immortals, they're very strong. So
they are.
If you're 100 Next, your only real hope on winning out in a team fight is if you isolate someone or a sword manages to grab somebody with the dredge line and you blow him up instantly.
They didn't get the Rift Herald either that I had suspected that 100X would go for after winning that top lane play, which gave enough time for Immortals not only to get that bot lane turret that you called out top lane for Pretty, but also taking the second Rift Herald of the game for themselves with mid-tier 1 open. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a play around mid lane and around Arrow.
So one thing I will say, having the Rift Herald again with 40 seconds to Dragon actually gives Immortals a great position to get to that soul point here. They're still strong. They can drop that Herald mid and force the members of 100X to answer, and that means they'll be able to get the Cloud Soul point. Something I will say overall, despite Immortals being in a pretty decent position, 100X throughout all of Amateur Magical are a team where they've found themselves in these situations more than one occasion, but it's the slip-ups that some amateur teams have shown them that allow them to come back into games that us as viewers thought were lost for them. So now, will Immortals Progressive make those same mistakes, or will they close it out and take us to that third game? So far they're looking good.
Well, that's the difference between Academy and Amateur. You'd expect that Academy has got the support to make sure they don't make those critical mistakes. The TB comes in from Darkwing with the package here, and that a good control now for 100X. But you can tell Joey trying to keep him as far away from the pit as possible. Vital, he's mega, but he's about to lose it. Sniper, he's got the angle on the other side. The charge comes through, but doesn't take the turret just yet. But 3 members still fighting against Sniper on one side, trying to chase him down the best they can. They got to be careful, because when does Darkwing pull the trigger? That's going to be the sole player, not connecting onto anybody. But it's going to be the Zenith blade that does. Joey taking a lot of damage. Joey trying to see if he can survive, but they got the resets. They've got Arrow.
Package is here.
And the package doesn't do enough. It cannot stop. Arrow, his Draven is online, baby. And that should be the Dragon picked up by Immortals, even if both junglers are dead.
And wow, big team fight coming through from Immortals Academy, taking advantage of the fact that Darkwings, he wasn't in position. He wasn't ready for the play to come through, and it was scrappy. Kills went both ways, but Immortals will get the Dragon Soul point that they so desperately needed here, Magical. They hold on to their lead. Arrow continues to snowball, and now 100X, the only thing they could hope for is potentially taking this turret, but Pretty doing a good job trying to get some damage off, trying to cut the wave down, and preventing even that from happening.
When we take a look at this replay, I mean, one, you gotta focus on Arrow, but you gotta focus on the minimap. I'm glad you pointed that out, Beatdown.
Literally, it's look at this Corki. The fight is already starting to come through. They have committed. Still not there. Still not there. And Darkwing, it's because the vision wasn't perfect. He wasn't sure if he was going to get turned and collapsed on, and that hesitation gave the opening for Immortals to come through here. Once Chad starts resetting, even though they get him in the end, the damage is done.
They traded, I think, just the 1 life of Chad for the 3 on 100X. They get Dragon control. They have the soul point potential, even if it's only a Cloud Soul. That's a soul is a soul, and look at the gold lead for Arrow on Draven.
This is what he does, man. All that adoration he has been able to get. Immortals spacing for their Draven so very well, and is what has gotten them into this position here, where the lead just continues to grow. We're looking at 4,000 and more as this mid turret starts to go down. You can see it. Immortals pushing into 100X jungle, setting up vision, making it so that even where Darkwings is on the map is a little dangerous.
Now let's just do a check-in on our mid-jungle duos for both sides. Darkwings, he hasn't really been able to tag team with Fnatic too much in this game. Last game, he was able to make a lot of plays, work out well for his team, and in this one, Chad, he might have died twice, but does feel like he's done a better job of bolstering up his mid laner.
Right, and I think the biggest thing too is the fact that Chad is a big focal point in these team fights as well. Even though it's Arrow doing the damage, being the one they make space for, if Viego keeps on resetting, taking champion souls, and just continuing to get casts of that Heartbreaker, it makes it easier for Pretty and Arrow to do the work. And it just continues to show in all their teamfight successes in this game here. 100X is continuously falling behind, and the big thing now at this point, you're just waiting for item spikes. Yeah, Darkwings hasn't been able to do much this game, Magical, but once you get that Ludens coming through, 2 items for this Corki, once you see the IE come from Lens, who's already working on it now, 100X, that will be their next window to get a big fight in.
Essentially that 25-minute mark that we talked about before for 100X, when they start to feel the most powerful and they start to get scaling out of the wazoo. But Immortals, they've got themselves in a great position to, even if it comes to that, they are the ones in control. And Sniper getting caught out by himself in the side lane. If they can give this kill over to Arrow, imagine the goal, but it's going to be Chad that takes it instead.
Still, it is a big play. This time they catch out Sniper in the side lane, and there is no trade to be made. Baron is not done fast enough by the side of 100 next, and this control over the bottom side means that Immortals, they are perfectly setting themselves up for the Dragon Soul in the next few minutes. That big boon, that big buff coming through with the Cloud Soul, being to get the movement speed when you cast your ultimate, is going to do so much work for Immortals' ability to team fight here. And 100 next, they just fall further and further behind.
And this has got a lot of stakes on this game for Immortals Progressive, with their backs against the wall, facing possible elimination if they drop this or the next game, if they can win this one now. There's so much relying on them. They don't want to be the second team in Academy to be knocked out of the Proving Grounds this year. They want to get back to that top 4, back to a position they have seen many times in their tenure of Proving Grounds.
And it starts here, Magical. Starts with a win in this second game where they are facing a loss, facing elimination. We keep asking, what is the difference between Academy and Amateur? Well, 100 next are the best Amateur have to offer. If Immortals can beat that, I think that will give us our answer.
But Immortals still have to win this game and the next game in order to prove that this game, 23.5 minutes in, looking fairly close between the two teams despite the 5,000 gold lead that Immortals have at this point. Scaling is starting to come online for the side of 100 Thieves next. We're just waiting for that Ludens to be built up for Darkwings, and that's when you really start to get control. But Lens, he realized that Pretty, with his own Ludens already completed, is going to be difficult to contend against.
It's not just the Ludens, Magical. It's also got the ulti, or not the ulti, the Void Staff there, and a needlessly large rod. Pretty is very strong.
8 stacks on the Dark Seal as well.
That's true. Could be building towards the Magi's.
Do it. I respect you if you do it, Pretty. But right now, with the Immortals having control on the map, that is Soul. No contest from 100 Thieves next. Like I said, a Cloud Soul, not necessarily going to be the one you're like, yes, but it's still a Soul. And the movement speed it now gives to Immortal to consistently run around the map and run circles around 100 Thieves, I think is something that 100 Thieves weren't calculating.
Yeah, you at the very least, it's always the sigh of relief in most situations when it's the Cloud Soul being, oh, wait a minute.
Ooh.
Okay, it's always the sigh of relief when the Cloud Soul is the one that goes through here, and that's why 100 next, they don't bother fighting for it. They're not in a position where they can reasonably team fight, and it's better to just hope that in the next 5 minutes when Elder shows up, that is when you decide to do it.
Or they get a pick onto Chad, because Chad took a lot of damage there from Darkwings.
That would have been actually pretty insanely huge, but Chad has some help and the ability to just walk away with the Harrowed Path and the Spectral Maw. They just back off. And it's still Immortals, though. Very much in control of this game. Big buff with the Cloud Soul. And we're in a position now where we were expecting 100 next, who usually, especially with Fnatic being so good in the early game, were able to keep the game nice and slow so that they could scale to the late game. Well, now Immortals, they didn't let that happen. Even though it took some time, they got things going. They started pushing the pace. And now they're in a position where they are threatening Elder. The next 5 minutes, only thing to worry about is the big purple worm, Magical.
They got Adoration stacks cashed in for Arrow twice now. He's got 3 items built, one of them being a Bloodthirster. He's in a great position now. You can tell how much strength Immortals have where they go blind. They knew people were in that brush, but they still went to fight 100 Thieves, knowing they had enough to thwart 100 Thieves at every moment.
Right, there was no opportunity for the turnaround here. 100X, they weren't ready for it. They were just trying to tease out what little bit of vision they'd be able to grab for themselves. And just hold, it just means that IMT hold on to control. It's going to take 100X a lot of effort, a lot of bodies to be able to move in and just clear the vision in their own jungle. And you can see it on the minimap. Immortals keeping that place nice and lit up. And now they're in a position where they just feel confident teleporting to go ahead and start this up.
It's only Pretty's TP, though, that was committed. So he'll be with the rest of the team. Look at how Sniper is positioning. Both him and Vital have their TPs available, with Vital going Mega now. this could be the time when 100 Thieves, once he's popped into mini form, could look for a play themselves, unless you have Pretty getting that damage on a sword like he just did right now, and forcing out the Nautilus, that engaged tool of 100 Thieves next.
And that's a big deal. I mean, you still hold on to the depth charge, but that low HP means they can start the Baron, and it's Dark Wings now. He's recalling. He has teleport package might be available, and that could be where it makes the difference here for 100 next. But even then, everyone's recalling magical. They are just accepting this.
They forfeit it. They don't want to fight over that. Elder Dragon is 3 minutes away, and that's what it seems that 100 Thieves next will put their lives on the line for.
So this last couple of minutes, these last few objective fights, not both teams, 100 next, they have been giving and giving and giving, not wanting to risk falling even further behind in the 5K deficit, or almost 6K that we see them in Magical, and we're going to have to see if this pays off, because now that Baron is off the table and it's in IMT's hands, the only thing to play for is Elder in 2.5 minutes. All those sacrifices, all those moments where 100 next decide, we better not. It's going to culminate in that fight. And for IMT, they want to stay in the lives in the series. They better win it.
They want to stay alive in Proving Grounds. As a whole, they don't want to drop out now. And they're at that point when it seems like it's nigh impossible for them to lose this game. But 100 Thieves next are still a strong team. The #1 seeded team from Amateur. A team that has won countless times against their opponents. Are here, facing off against Immortals Progressive. They took game 1 off of them. They got themselves in a great position. But game 2 is looking like Immortals' time to close it out and make this a draw going into game 3.
One thing I will say that has been completed for 100 next is the IE is there for Lens. This is the big spike for Sivir, and where if team fights last long enough, you can do a lot of work, a lot of damage with those W autos. Still, he's gone!
He assassinates the troll! And what do you do without him? You pay the toll! Immortals are pushing in for the game!
They very well can. Sniper gets an objective bounty on the side, but they have to pay their respects. It's 4 versus 5. Even when Sniper finishes this recall, if IMT or if 100 next aren't careful, IMT can close things out.
They had to get Sniper back into the base just to help defend, but one inhibitor turret will fall. They get the inhibitor as well, with the second inhibitor turret falling in mid lane.
This is brutal. One inhibitor down on the top side means you got supers that are be coming in for the next few minutes. Elder is up in a minute's time, and now you see it. Sniper, he has to be there. He has to be the one to push this wave out. Dark Wings, you've been holding on to the package all this time. Well, 40 seconds till the Elder. Was it worth it? Was all the reserve we saw from 100 next worth it? That's what we're going to find out.
We'll find out. It's Pretty with that assassination. Shows just how much damage he's bringing to these fights when he finds those angles. The mid-jungle duo of IMT really online. Pretty being the captain of the two-man crew to keep Immortals in this game and keep them well ahead.
And this is the tough part. Walking into Immortals composition is pretty dangerous, especially if you don't have eyes on Vital. Luckily you do. With the Elder Dragon spawning, it's tough. You gotta slowly walk in here. Fnatic, you do have the Subjugate. Sword also is just, Nautilus, you have Aftershock. If he gets CC off, you become very tanky. And now, eyes are on Pretty. He has the flank.
He's been spotted out. Double distortions away. Gets himself back towards Vital. But there's a lot of time being bought by both teams. They are fighting and dancing around the pit. The team looking for control. Darkwing still with the package, the firm control that he gained just from having that alone. You can tell that Immortals, they are so cautious about this. With Vital off Mega, this could be the time to strike. Look to see if he can find the pick. Sword not connecting to the Dredge line, but they got the Solar Flare. The package on the other side forces a flash away from Darkwings. And now that Sniper's on top.
The rockets!
Shutting him down, but it's all arrow. He's fighting back against Viper. Double kill for Draven.
And now you can see it. Dark Wings, he has to TP away, but it gets canceled. He has... Okay, then that's tough. Look at Vital. He's in the base.
Vital's
He's ending the game.
An arrow. He's just cleaning up the kills. He's got an unofficial triple kill, making it an unofficial quadra kill as Dark Wings dives away. The Norald to scoop him up for an ace. And IMT claim victory. We're going to game 3.
IMT saying it's not going to be that simple. Academy is still above amateur as they say no to 100 Thieves next.
What a game from Immortals. Backs against the wall. Possibly could have been the second Academy team eliminated from the proving grounds against the #1 seeded amateur team. And they bounced back in a great way. The mid-game was their feeding frenzy.
It was, and I think the big thing too is that even though things were starting to were pretty slow rolling for Immortals, the progressive fact is once they started getting it going, they started stacking dragons from the very beginning. And there was a play, I believe, in the topside jungle where Arrow managed to start cashing in on that adoration when they caught out Darkwings, and you got to a point where 100 next, no matter how much scaling they had, they were never close enough in gold for it to matter.
And with that, we have a tied series, 1 apiece in a best-of-3 do-or-die game on the line. In our next one, we're going to toss it a break. When we come back, we'll have Kangas here for our halftime or third show. I don't know what you want to call it for this one. Either way, he'll be back. We'll be back. We'll see you there.
So I play a lot of Viego. So every time I take over Yumi, I say, best Yumi in the team, best Yumi in the team. And then I start healing people up. So...
we've actually stopped letting Arrow play Senna, and I'm the only person who allows to play Senna on the team, so I'm pretty much better than him at that. And also my Samira just gaps his for sure, so I'm beaten 2.
You're Samira?
Yeah, I'm good at it, Samira, actually.
I call him the Aram Menace on Samira.
All right.